Senator Snow, Senator Collins, Chairman Webster, Convention Chair Robinson, thank you. I'd briefly like to thank and introduce you to my family who's present. My father, who should be running for office, Peter Scontras. My mother, Sophie. My wife is here somewhere, my beautiful love of my life, Dawn Scontras, with our lovely two children, Jack and Zoe. I grew up in a small white house atop Love Lane in Cary. Our dinner table was actually an old-fashioned redwood picnic table that we hauled into our kitchen from the backyard. There were 9 of us, and finances were tight, so we improvised. But it was there at that table where I learned many valuable life lessons. I learned how my grandparents came here legally from Greece. And how they made a better life for themselves by embracing freedom and embracing opportunity. I learned how my father served in Korea, and my uncles in World War II. But it was one morning I remember in particular that forever changed my life. It was the morning of July 4th, 1976. I was 6 years old, and there was much for my parents to worry about that year. The economy was faltering, inflation and interest rates were rising, Jimmy Carter was surging, communism was advancing across the globe. And I'm sure my parents were concerned about the future of the country and the impact it would have upon their children. And my oldest brother had long since left for the United States Naval Academy, and the remaining 6 of us were huddled around that picnic table. And I assume, like most other summer mornings, we were probably in our bathing suits, eating breakfast and getting ready to go to the beach. At the time, after all, the 4th of July just meant fireworks and barbecues. It was then, unexpectedly, my father took me by the hand and whisked me into the warm summer morning. He put me in the family station wagon. We drove downtown Cary. We stood amongst the throngs of other families, just the 2 of us, alongside the road, waiting. And before I could see anything, I could hear the booming of the bass drum. I saw the marching band as it approached. I remember what seemed to be a sea of red, white, and blue flags with the number 76 encircled by a crown of stars. I remember the Marines in their dress blues. I remember how they maintained perfect posture while parading the colors. They never broke their stride. America was celebrating 200 years of independence and liberty, and at the age of 6, I could see and feel what that meant. I would have the same feeling many times throughout my life. I experienced it at age 10 when I went to Bunker Hill. I felt it when I watched the Berlin Wall fall on a small television from my dorm room at the University of Maine. I felt it again when I stood in the blood-stained battlefields of Manassas, Virginia, where the battles of Bull Run were fought, and when I traveled to Hawaii and peered into the crystal waters and watched the drops of oil slowly rise from the sunken hull of the USS Arizona. I saw the haunting images of the Korean War Memorial, where the inscription rightly reads, "Freedom is not free." Now I realize, whether it was the men of the 20th Maine or those who were on the deck of the Arizona, it has always been ordinary Americans who are called to do the heroic. Thomas Paine was a corset maker. Sam Adams, an unsuccessful businessman. Lincoln, a self-educated prairie lawyer. Reagan, an actor. The men who raised the flag on Iwo Jima. The firefighters who raised the flag upon Ground Zero. So it wasn't without a bit of irony just a few weeks ago, my 5-year-old daughter would point to a picture of Reagan's beaming face and ask, "Daddy, who's that man?" Freedom's tradition is now placed upon me to pass to my children. It's placed upon us, parents, grandparents, uncles and aunts, to hand off to the next generation. We must tell them the stories. We must take them to the parades, to our museums and our memorials, so they may feel what we know to be true, that this country is freedom's last best hope. Thank you. A corrupt culture in Washington, D.C. that prioritizes favor over honor and virtue. We saw this last year during the health care debate with the Louisiana Purchase and the Cornhusker kickback. So it is you and I, once again, the ordinary, mothers and fathers and business owners, freedom lovers, who will stand firmly in their way. We stand with the generations of Americans who have protected freedom before. The Constitution is our cornerstone. Freedom spirit is now the working mother who makes her way hundreds of miles to express her discontent about government spending. Thank you. In 1974, Reagan communicated this very American sentiment when he said, "You can call it mysticism if you want to, but I have always believed that there was some divine plan that placed this great continent between two oceans, to be sought out by those who were possessed of an abiding love of freedom and a special kind of courage." So we have in our own small way been given a chance to take a part in freedom's epic tale. This election cycle, we here in this room, the ordinary, can achieve the extraordinary. You and I can stop this. I, for one, cannot in good conscience stand idly by and watch our freedoms shamefully stripped away by Congress, bill by bill, by Speaker Pelosi and those who blindly follow her, like Congresswoman Pingree. We enlist ourselves the ordinary. And let's remind Nancy Pelosi and Shelley Pingree that Maine's first congressional seat does not belong to a political party. It especially does not belong to the Congressional Progressive Caucus. It does not belong to a family name. It belongs to you and me. Thank you. This campaign and all the other campaigns for office across the state will be so not because of candidates, but because of the countless individual actions that you take between now and November. So I ask you, what will you do for victory? And I ask you, what will you do for freedom? In the end, there will be no parades or memorials erected in our honor. Instead, our reward will simply be our conscience, that in our time we did what we could. And perhaps someday around your dinner table, you will be able to look your grandchildren in the eye and tell them that you were there, that you did what you could, that together we helped preserve freedom by sending Shelley Pingree home and forever removing the gavel from Nancy Pelosi's far-left reaching